Hey guys, today I wanted to do a video that had to do with codependency, okay? Codependency is a symptom. It's kind of like an iceberg, right? We can see an iceberg, we can see the tip of an iceberg above the ocean. It's very easy to spot with the naked eye, but there's so much underneath that tip of the iceberg that's sticking out. Well, it's the same thing with codependency. Codependency is the part that's on the top. But there is so much underneath it, and that's what I want to talk about today. So what is underneath codependency? What's not visible to the naked eye? Okay, underneath codependency are toxic relationships. Why? Because like attracts like, and somebody that has a hole, an emotional hole or emotional wound inside of them is going to attract somebody else with an emotional wound inside. So codependent narcissist, it's like a magnetic pull. If we just think that it's the relationship that's the problem and we get out of that relationship without realizing there's so much more to it, we simply get rid of that person or discard that person or wind up discarded, right? And find ourselves in a relationship with somebody else that repeats that same cycle. I know people that have done that for decades. I know people that have recycled 2, 3, 4 toxic relationships with different people, but the same dynamics. So there's the codependency on the top. Underneath it is the toxic relationship. Well, what is holding up those toxic relationships in place? In other words, what is beneath those toxic relationships? Beneath the toxic relationships are a lack of healthy behaviors. For example, the inability to say no, being unable to trust your gut instinct, lack of knowing what healthy boundaries look like, or if you know, you have the inability to enforce them, conflict avoidance, even if avoiding it comes at a high cost that is detrimental to self, putting yourself last on everyone's list of priorities, including your own. Those are the behaviors that attract those toxic relationships. Well, what's beneath those behaviors? Because we can't have a behavior without having a feeling. Okay, so what are the feelings that are driving those behaviors, that are driving us to be in toxic relationships and causing us to have that symptom of codependency? Below our behaviors are our feelings. Fear of abandonment, fear of making people angry, fear of loneliness, lack of self-love, severe self-love deficit, deep-rooted shame, lack of self-identity, social anxiety, and insecurity, to mention some. Okay, now we're looking at the whole picture now, right? Is that all? No. We can't have a feeling without first having a thought. So what are the thoughts that are driving those feelings, that are driving those behaviors, that are pushing us into toxic relationships and keeping us in a codependency loop? And sadly, oftentimes, the thoughts that we have are the internalized voice of the toxic people from our childhood. And what are they saying? You're not good enough. You're not worthy. What's wrong with you? If only you were like so-and-so. You're not easy to love. No one likes to be around you. You drive me crazy. Why are you the way you are? Don't you know anything? Are you stupid? You're so sensitive. You're crazy. Even if those exact words weren't said, a child can pick up on those things if they're ignored, if when they need something, they're treated as if they're a burden, if no matter what they do or for doing crazy things, their parent gets angry, right, and gives them that look of contempt. I know some adult children of narcissists who told me that that look of contempt, when they saw their parent give them that look, it was as if they knew their parent hated them. Some even told me that they felt like their parent wanted to kill them. So those are the messages that children of toxic parents picked up when they were very, very young. Because of that inner voice, there is a core programming of shame that was installed in that child by toxic parents. And it's running all the time. The only way to heal and overcome this repetition of toxic relationships isn't to start at the top of the iceberg, so to speak, isn't to get rid of codependency as if that was the root cause. It is a symptom that we want to face, but it is not the root cause. The only way to really overcome codependency is to start at the bottom of the root cause of everything, which is those inner programs, the inner dialogue, the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that lead to codependency. And those are my favorite topics to talk about. Unfortunately, the majority of people prefer to learn about the narcissist. And yes, I talk a lot about the toxic person, about the narcissist, about how to identify them, because I want individuals that have just come across this information, I want them to get the validation that they really need, and I want to provide tools that can help. But the truth is that these are my favorite topics to talk about. They don't get as many views. It's a lot easier to talk about the other person and what that person is doing than to really take the time to do the inner work, because it's not easy. Getting in touch with those old programs, getting in touch with the core beliefs that is creating a life that you really don't want, that's hard work. It takes effort, it takes patience, compassion, it takes being willing to feel it, to heal it, right? We can't just avoid the pain. We have to really kind of go through it in order to process and release it. And not everybody is able to do that, or at the point where they feel ready to be able to do that. But those are my favorite topics. I wanted to let you know. And if you are interested in learning about those topics, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified of my upcoming videos. And if you ever feel like you're on your healing journey and it's just too much and it's too difficult doing it on your own and you want to have one-on-one assistance, make sure you check out my website. The link is always in the description box below, where I offer one-on-one sessions. And I am soon to be coming up with a group coaching session as well that should be up probably around April 2020. So if you ever want that extra assistance, those options are always there. Otherwise, watch my videos, because I really want to focus on overcoming these programs, these limiting beliefs that are keeping us in situations or in a life that doesn't allow us to be the person we really want to be, or it doesn't give us the inner happiness that we deserve and we need. So remember, my website is always in the description box below.